Welcome to the Spread of the Blight informational podcast, hosted by yours truly, Darius Gooblebob IV. For some context, the Napoleonic Wars were a series of wars against the French Empire under Napoleon. Nations such as Prussia, Austria, Great Britain, and Russia were all involved in the wars, and only won because of Napoleon's blunders during the Sixth and Seventh, no pun intended, coalition. One of these blunders was entering Russia to enforce the Continental Blockade. But what if, instead of just entering the empty, burning remains of Moscow, you also encountered the bodies of the dead rising to bring them with you? Welcome to Guts and Black Powder, a game that pushes the zombie genre into the past. Literally. In this episode, I'll be going over one of the most loved objective maps in the entirety of this game.
Cannibals!
Okay, Jimmy, I can see that. Anyways, I'll be going over the two-part campaign of London and Westminster. Now, some historical context from both our and this timeline. The date is September 15, 1815. In the main timeline, the 7th Coalition would have been cleaning the remaining French soldiers loyal to Napoleon and solidifying their victory over France. However, in this ruined timeline, the entirety of mainland Europe has been lost to a virus known as the Blight. Some consider this the Antichrist, while others still see it as a virus. One thing's for certain, if you die, you'll come back as one of those.
Vampire!
Okay, can you get out? Please, can you get out?
It's not possible.
If these cannibals don't get, I'll smash the spell over your head. Anyways, let's get on with the fall of Britain and the exodus of the 23rd Regiment of Foot and the other unfortunate British stragglers. The British city of London, specifically in Blackfriars, is a tale of sadness, rebellion, and patriotism. These words describe the reason as to why the city is doomed and why the 23rd Regiment, stationed at St. Paul's Cathedral, must escape the city. They believe the soldiers stationed at Horse Guards are still fighting for their lives, and as the sun begins to set, they make their way down, fighting off the infected and their own brothers in arms who succumb to the Blight. For some reason, the fallen support beam bridge is more dangerous than the large spiral staircase that appears soon after, so watch your step. Now, prior to the beginning of this invasion of the undead, Parliament and the King prepared a foolproof plan in order to halt its spread, with the help of the remaining soldiers who retreated from the Battle of Waterloo and a certain Arthur Wellesley. With their experience, they made blocks, with two large barricaded doors on either side of a street near any makeshift medical facility, similar to St. Paul's Cathedral, as the infected lacked intelligence. This proved to work extremely well. Too well, in fact, that when the 23rd managed to climb down the cathedral and escape onto the street, the entrance to the Ludgate block was blocked by mounds and mounds of corpses from the infected, and a soldier on top with a hole in their head. Now, it's a great time to mention that the people of London, before the outbreak of the Blight, of course, were beginning to boil due to the Homeland Defense Act of 1814, and people, specifically the peasants, lost their homes to soldiers. One of the notes from Parliament says, "By order of the King, your domicile is to be temporarily repossessed by the War Department. Such jurisdiction is provided under the Homeland Defense Act of 1814. Re-entry into your property is prohibited. Payment of losses is to be compensated after such threat passes. Enforcement will be brought upon by military duty. Your compliance shares the goal with your countrymen to protect and defend the Kingdom of Great Britain. Thank you." There is also another document calling for the rebellion and repeal of this act, and it states, "Call for repeal, brave sons of Britain. Do not let our liberty fail. Streets locked away behind walls. Gates line every major street from St. Paul's to Westminster. Businesses crippled. Houses stolen. Soldiers scum defiling our homes and neighborhoods. Curfews that kill our way of life. What are we to do? Called for the repeal of the 1814 Homeland Defense Act." It may have been possible that, because of the infection entering Britain, the citizens of London were able to successfully incite a riot and single-handedly bring their downfall. After clearing the bodies at the entrance to the Ludgate block, The 23rd begin to open the doors and continue their retreat. But alas, there's another door, this time welded shut and unable to be opened from the inside. The 23rd are forced to take a detour into the nearby library and gather crates in order to climb a ladder pinned to the skylight, as the infected climb and descend from any nook and cranny. They climb up into a survivor's den, finding any straggler of the king's army lucky enough to survive before descending into a shop and out onto a large alley. A Scottish soldier of the 42nd Regiment of Foot hides behind a stack of crates.
Hey, halt! Keep your feet planted where they're at! A couple of riflemen up in the steeple. They're shooting anyone, dead or alive, that try to pass. Hey, Jimmy! It won't be much longer now! Look, you lads get some cover. I'm a horrible shot. One of you try your luck. You either got him or bought some time. I've got my window. I'm going for him. Keep covering me.
No! You're the traitor!
You can betray us.
The Scottish soldier dies next to their comrade, as members of the 95th Rifle Squad station themselves inside a church steeple, and believing the 23rd are retreating from the front lines, fire upon them in an attempt to punish them for their cowardice, even though there is no front line left to hold. See, the British Army believes that there is no cause more noble than dying for the crown, and if you come back alive from a battle through desertion, you are considered a coward and scum. Hence why they fire upon the 23rd Regiment, thinking they're all traitors to the crown. A good tip for this part is to wait until the riflemen fire before moving forward and stay behind cover, as their shots can incapacitate you and put you in a near vegetative state. Surgeons should stay behind to attend to the wounded, as the rest of the team are to distract the riflemen in order to attend to the wounded. Once the 23rd Regiment manage to get close to the church, they break down a quarantine house's doors in order to let the infected out and onto the church's front doors, where they break in and exterminate what's left of the 95th Rifles Squad. Once they examine the body of their officer, who was killed and left to hang, they move further, passing through an abandoned newspaper printing house, a burning courtroom, and an underground pub due to many obstacles being on the road. The basement of the pub leads to a toy store, with toy soldiers, rifles, castles, and a music box. It seemed that whoever was hiding there boarded up, but it was no use. Once they find a key in one of the many toy cupboards, they opened a locked door and head upstairs through what seems to be the deceased survivor's apartment and into the sewers. There, they climb a ladder up into the vat house, filled with delicious and flammable soda. This is the terminology used. Upon passing by a trespassing warning with 4 bodies next to it, they encounter a lone British engineer, injured and on their last breath.
Please. We were here on the King's orders. Start a fire. It's not about saving London now. It's about Cullingham. The rest of the regiment, they're down there. They have what you need. You ought to get the vats to collapse. Spread it as far as you can. It'll ignite easy and start a fire. The noise attracted them. Now all my comrades are dead. I think I might be next. You lads will have better luck. Please, save what's left in Westminster.
The 23rd Regiment of Foot begins to adhere to the engineer's words, and pokes holes into every vat with whatever they have. Sabers, pikes, pistols, and more. No vat goes without holes. Their noise attracts a horde and forces them to keep poking holes and fight against the infected. Once the vats begin to fall, the pressure of the soda forces the doors open and forces the 23rd Regiment to run for it and out of the vat house and into our next area, Westminster. Westminster is the...
It's like the whole of bloody hell is coming up from out the ground to kill us.
Wait, what? They're here already? Oh no, we don't have much time. I'll try and complete this as soon as possible. Anyways, Westminster is the second part of the London campaign, only accessible through beating London. It takes place hours after London, and shows how night has begun to settle in, darkening the city. The 23rd Regiment, alongside the regiment stationed past the Vat House, begins to wake up after the flood of soda, and move through St. Giles, a large street with many blockades and quarantined homes, with more of the repossession and rebellion pamphlets present. And it becomes increasingly obvious that because most of London, which includes Westminster, is uneducated, they are mostly unable to understand the acts, and do not agree with what's in them, inciting rebellion, and causing the infected to sweep London. However, St. Giles seems undefended. There are almost no infected soldiers to be found, just infected peasants. Upon reaching the rooftop of an under-construction roof of a smithing shop, the 23rd Regiment begin to lift up a platform in order to bridge across to a nearby museum, as screams can be heard from the other side before going silent. After the platform is lifted and the regiment breaks into the museum, they find the body of the unfortunate soul who was screaming, and fight through the museum in order to get to Horse Guards. They finally make it to the entrance of the museum and fight a viral infected in knight armor, before proceeding onto Charing Cross, and alerting a gate operator on the tower of their presence, who rings a bell and opens the gate, alerting a horde. Once they clear the horde, the regiment head towards Horse Guards, and watch as a platoon of infantry are overrun and bitten by the undead. And a Winyate's second rocket trooper runs towards Horse Guards' forecourt, and forces the 23rd to clear out the large forecourt to find a way inside. Which they do, unprofessionally, by pushing a large carriage and putting a ladder on top in order to climb to an open window. There, they meet none other than the Duke of Wellington, Arthur Wellesley, who has fallen into what seems to be a deep depression.
Scum. Scum of the earth, really. Here, after all of the true gentlemen deserted their post?
Scum? Who are you supposed to be?
Arthur Wellesley. I don't suppose you are taking the night watch?
No, sir. How do we leave?
The Westminster Bridge. It's a 10-minute walk normally, but with those shambling monsters on the street, I don't suppose it'll be more than 15, albeit they'll blow it in 12. Luckily for you, there's a few men of the Royal Wagon Train downstairs. With luck, you'll make it. Here, if any of you can read it, your only hope out of the city is lost at midnight. The King's colours. Save them, would you?
Although the Duke seems depressed, he possibly feels a sense of hope. Remember that the war was stopped short because of the Blight, and the events at Waterloo were quite different. And he didn't get as much glory as he did in the main timeline of the Napoleonic Wars without the Blight. He sees the one thing that Britain needs in the 23rd Regiment. A small light that they carry. Hope. The King's colours represent the hopes and morale of the people, and as their final mission, he wants the 23rd Regiment to bring that hope to all the people of Great Britain through their survival and escape of Westminster. There's also a secret monologue that he leaves, which explains his depression.
You're a fool, Scum. Scum like myself.
Where is the army heading?
South and then west.
We've got but
They're
5
holding a
minutes!
retreat line out of London, reorganizing who knows where.
What happened?
We would have held hell at the gates. A great deal of your commanders decided it was worth more to retire to the protection of their estates than to face them. Some say cowardice, treason at the highest level, but the king will reward them with medals of the highest honor. So will the people, the defenders of London. Good night, sir. Die, you filth!
If you were to play the game, you would get a message saying, "You abandoned your team." Which I believe is true, because the Duke didn't want you to follow his idea of staying behind, to be a true defender, but to bring hope to the people, and to the rest of the army. The 23rd Regiment, along with the Royal Wagon Train, passed through St. James's Park before the front wagon's wheel breaks and forces the regiment to search for a replacement, and fix the wagon before being able to move on. The infected, just like the Viet Cong, will literally jump out from the bushes and trees and attack you from all sides. I would recommend keeping half the team at the wagon while the other half help defend the one transporting the wheel from the lake. Once the wagon is repaired, the regiment head out of the park and onto the street, where a carriage blocks the path of the wagon, forcing the regiment to push the carriage out of the way in order to let the wagon pass. Now, most people will abandon the wagon at this point, since an igniter will proceed to make PETA angry and kill the horses of the royal wagon train with a cannon. This same cannon also helps open the gate towards the Westminster Bridge, allowing the 23rd Regiment to run across the bridge to escape. The Westminster Bridge is cluttered with wagons and carriages and supply carts, and a wall. There are also gunpowder barrels that begin to blow up once the clock strikes 12, and will cause the bridge to collapse once all the barrels are blown up. The wall forces the regiment to take a detour under the bridge onto scaffolding and past more gunpowder barrels in order to reach the other side. The soldiers on the other side will open fire on the infected as soon as they see the king's colors, and finally let the 23rd Regiment rest, as they've completed their mission and brought hope to the army. Now, my final thoughts. Overall, the campaign of London and Westminster are two very difficult objectives, as story-wise, you aren't meant to survive. You and the regiment were like pigeons that keep coming back, but it seems that it was a great thing, as your mission wasn't to die defending a lost cause. It was to bring hope to your country in these desperate times, and... oh no. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks. Oh no. Do something. Do something. Oh no. No. Oh my God! They're breaking down the door. They're breaking down the door. Oh no. I gotta get out of here.